Hi everyone, it's Jess. So this is my question and answer video. There's about 12 questions, I believe, and I'm really sorry if I get kind of long-winded at some points. I kind of go off on tangents and babble sometimes, and I don't realize it, so for your sake, let's hope this doesn't go on too long and I catch them. My first question is, are you inspired by the outdoors? The skies, the trees, the water, etc. I love the outdoors myself. The sunrise is one of my favorite things, and I enjoy going to parks. I was raised pretty much with a great appreciation for the outdoors since I was a kid. I grew up in a very small beachside town where my family and I would walk to the beach every day during the summer. And then right beyond our backyard, there was a big open lot that turned into a field filled with milkweed. So there was always a lot of butterflies there, and I would run through it, get lost sometimes when I was little. And then right beyond that field, there was a man-made lake that stretched to the ocean, and there would be swans there, little peeper frogs. And even when me and my dad would get tired of going through all of that, he would take me to state parks, and we would work our way through the thicket and the muck and catch little tadpoles, frogs, newts. We found a box turtle once, and we brought her home, named her Shelly, and then she made it a few years with us, even came here to this house. But after we had her for a year or two, she laid eggs, and we still have one of the babies. Her name is Maxine, and she's a sweetheart. She comes even when you call her name. She lives out in the pen, an area of our vegetable garden. Usually we don't get many vegetables because she likes to eat them now. I was also raised a lot by my grandmother when my mother got sick, and right before I was born, she got deep into herbalism, the medicinal quality especially, and she taught me a lot about that, a lot about plants, how to plant things, the proper way to grow them, area zones for growing plants, everything like that. And that carries on today. I mean, if I ever burn myself in the kitchen making her dinner, she just yells at me, "Go get the mullein, stick it on your cut, you'll be fine." And I mean, that's it. When it comes to the outdoors, I still love it. I still garden a lot. It's prevalent in my writing, of course. I mean, from what you guys can tell. And I guess that's it. How long have you been writing is the next question. And I mean, I really can't remember when I wasn't writing. I have journals that date back all the way to when I was 8. And supposedly there's other ones from when I was younger even that were lost. And I probably have about a dozen up on the shelves that line the top of my room. And I mean, I didn't really start writing a lot until about my sophomore year of high school when I took a creative writing class. And this was the same time when my eating disorder got bad. So I really found I had something to write about. And I was encouraged to write. And I guess I finally gained a bit of confidence. And well, I'm still writing, and I still love it. So, next question is, who's my biggest inspiration with anything? With recovery, writing, and who I am as a person in general. And I mean, I could go on and on, especially about you guys. You have all influenced me and helped me so much as a writer, a person, and in recovery. I mean, this video would go on longer than it's probably going to, which will be extremely long to begin with. So, I'd say if I had to pick one person who's influenced me the most in my entire life, it would be my mother. Since she was a child, she grew up in a terrible home, physically and emotionally abusive. And she was stuck there until she was 18 and moved out and met my father. And they lived together up until they got married. But even when she got away from that and finally thought things were okay, in the second trimester that she had my sister, she developed severe rheumatoid arthritis, and that plagued her for the rest of her life, along with the immune deficiency that came with it. And the thing about her, and the thing I always try to remember about her, is that she never gave up. no matter how bad things got. As long as she could walk, she got out of bed every morning. As long as she could do anything, she never, ever gave up. She would get down on her hands and knees, no matter how hard it was, and she'd scrub that floor until it was polished and clean because she couldn't stand having a dirty house. And she would sit there and just say, "No, Jess, I can get up. Just give me a few minutes and I'll be able to get up. Don't you worry about me." And I guess, more than anything, I need to remember that. Don't give up. If anything, I learned from her is that. And if anything will get me through life, that. And the next question is, what sparked your love for writing? Was there ever a moment like that, or have you always wanted to write as if it was innate? And like I said in question 2, I've always sort of written since I was a kid, but I suppose the spark where writing almost came naturally, and I started writing almost every single day, many times more than once a day, was my sophomore year in high school. And then it got to the point where I was constantly writing once I left the hospital. And I wrote before I left the hospital, but it wasn't much, I suppose. It was all very fractured, letters, journal entries, meant to be almost like a suicide note then. But once I entered the hospital, and it became pretty apparent I didn't have the tools anymore to process emotion and deal with emotion, both physically and mentally. My therapist struggled to find something I could do that would alleviate everything that we both knew was going to come out as I went through therapy and I went through refeeding. And I fell back on writing. And as I got better, I loved it more and more, and I found that it made everything easier. Things were easier to deal with when I wrote them out. And eventually I got brave enough to say them. And I suppose a week after I was discharged, I found my way here. And I found that I had something to say, things I needed to share. And I'm still doing that. And it helps. And I hope I never stop writing. And next question is, does your boyfriend know about your deviantart? And yeah, he has known since before we were dating. And he's known that I've written as long as we've known each other, which I think we were 11, so 7 years. A mutual friend of ours had an account on here and shared it with him. And since I knew the account, I mean, we would joke around on it sometimes, and I would comment on her work. So he found mine. And he never really went on it very much, but it came up, of course, again when we started dating, and I asked him if he was comfortable about me writing about him and posting it on here. And he said it was alright, so that's the only reason I do write about him on here, just as a courtesy sort of thing. But it doesn't really bother me in any way. I mean, we've known each other for so long, and I'm just a very open person in general, I find. So there's not much he doesn't know about me already, and even if he found out anything new, it's not anything I don't think I'd be unwilling to share. Next question, that's really not a question. You're very pretty. Thank you. I'm not really good with compliments, I'll be honest. I've usually just deny them, but I'm trying to work on that because it really drives everyone crazy, especially my boyfriend, so, yeah. But, question number 7, how did your eating disorder start? And I really don't have an answer to that. I can't remember a time when me and food were really normal together. I mean, my memories go back as early as my first years in elementary school, of me just picking at my lunch for a few minutes before going and throwing it away. Quickly, because my mother had befriended one of the cafeteria workers just to make sure I was eating. I found my way around that pretty quickly. I never ate breakfast. because I was so nervous. I didn't like school. I was bullied. I was a sick girl. I developed juvenile arthritis when my mother developed her rheumatoid. And even after I went into remission very quickly, I have an immune deficient gene. So I was sick with a lot of lung-based issues, mainly bronchitis. And I had to miss a lot of school to go to the doctor, to see specialists when I had the arthritis. And it became pretty obvious that there was something wrong with me. And that scared everyone. And no one really talked to me or wanted to be my friend. And it was upsetting. And I guess what it comes down to is, I only ate when I was happy. And I guess I wasn't very happy. But it never really got better. Throughout middle and high school, it continued. And then, once my sophomore year came around, just before it, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And I found out it was going to kill her. And we left her at the hospital that night because it was before we went and got hospice. And my dad made me eat dinner. I just remember I went in the shower and I was standing there. I said, I can't. I don't want this in me. I don't want to eat anymore. It doesn't feel right. And I don't remember exactly what happened, except I remember just sitting there on the floor of the tub, and I remember looking down at the end of it towards the train, and there was vomit, and then I was bleeding. I cut myself down my shin for the first time, and I was crying, and I mean from then on, it just got worse and worse, and when she died, it got to the point where I said, I don't want to live anymore. I'm done. And I decided I was such a terrible person. I didn't deserve to kill myself quickly. I didn't deserve for it to be painless or almost. I wanted to suffer. And I decided I would starve myself to death. And I almost did. But I realized on my sister's 10th birthday, March 20th of 2004, that I wasn't just killing myself, I was killing her sister, my father's daughter, and the little girl my mother tried so hard to bring into this world. And that wasn't fair. So I ate. And then a little over a month later, they put me in the hospital. Because I would have died probably otherwise. I wasn't good at eating on my own. I'm still not very good at it. The problem is, I've done this for so long. It's normal. It's so easy. And I don't really know what to do. But I'm gonna find my way to getting better. Because I don't want the other option anymore. There's only two when it comes to an eating disorder. You get better, or you die. And the latter isn't. I don't want it. No. Okay. Next question is, when did your depression start? And once again, I don't know. I mean, I have less of an idea about that than I do about when my eating disorder began. I know when I was 13, I decided I didn't want to live past 30, that I would kill myself before I lived that long. And that when I moved to this town, I never left my room besides to go to school. And I know when looking back on all those journals I have still, that I was never really very happy. And then the next question, number 9, is what's the hardest thing about recovery? And it's just feelings. Feelings are scary. They're uncontrollable. I feel so much. So very much. And it's intense. And it's scary to me. And I don't know how to explain the feeling of not feeling. And when you go through such intense emotions all the time, it's so much easier just to be numb. And that's what my eating disorder and the cutting does. Purging is a quick fix, just like cutting is. And if I starve myself long enough, everything just numbs out. But the thing about numbing yourself is you lose all the bad emotions, but you also lose the good ones. There's no happiness anymore. Even when the emotions do come through, you're not happy. But the sadness is stronger than the happiness. There's nothing good left. So it's hard when you go back and you try to recover, because it's stronger than ever before, because you're so used to nothing. But when you get that moment of happiness after going so long without it, it's the most wonderful thing in the world, and it makes all that worth it. Okay, we're going to move away from the depressing stuff, and question 10, what's your favorite time of day? And I really like mornings, actually. I usually wake up around 8. Every morning I have an alarm set on my phone, and even if I just go to sleep around 5, which I've been doing a lot, I still get up. I love having some time to myself, just sitting around, writing, listening to some music, baking, thinking even sometimes. But it's not ruminating, it's just thinking, focusing on more positive things usually. And then it's just nice waking up early and going outside. I love gardening early in the mornings, in the spring and the summer. In early morning, I always have good memories of going on day trips with my grandmother into Princeton here, to farmers markets, sometimes even into Pennsylvania. And then it's always nice to wake up early and sit in a nice little beam of sunshine out on the leather couch we have in the living room and write, or have a nice cup of tea. Tea is always good. And then question 11, do you read a lot? And so, what are some of your favorite books and authors? And I'm really ashamed to admit this, but in the past year, I really haven't read. And I missed out. My grandmother, when she found out I haven't picked up a book in months, besides required reading for school, back when I was in school, she said I was wasting my life. That I would regret this when I got older, because I will never have a long enough lifetime to read all the books I will want to read. And she's right. But it's just so hard when I get so caught up in my own head to focus on anything else, especially something like reading. But that's my resolution for this year. One of them is to start reading again, because I miss reading. I just picked up Alice Hoffman's Practical Magic, and I've always sat down for really 2 days and read it, but I'm already over halfway through. And I have a big stack of books over by my bookshelf, of books I still need to read that I got from library sale. And some of my favorite books, just a few, are Wally Lamb's She's Come Undone, 5 Quarters of the Orange by Joanne Harris, and then The Secret Life of Bees. and then I really have a ton of books I still need to read, and half of them aren't even here. So I really need to work on that. But next question is, what's my favorite thing to read genre-wise in either poetry or prose? And what are some of my favorite books or authors? Well, the latter half of the question I already answered, but I started reading more poetry, but I think prose will always be my first love. I write it, so I read it more than anything else. But I really don't have a genre that I really like. I love pretty much anything. Psychological fiction, anything with that as a backdrop, will always catch my attention. So I'll read anything from cooking memoirs to historical fiction. And I guess the style is what attracts me to a book, not really the direct direction of it. But as long as there's a good style and a good plot, I'll keep going at it. So that's it. Thank you guys for asking me so many questions. It was a nice surprise. I expected I wouldn't have this many actually, so I've been blabbering on for almost 22 minutes, so anyone who sat through this, I'm very surprised. Especially because I keep pausing and getting nervous and stuff. But I love you all. Alright? Hang in there. Happy New Year. Bye.